Have you ever wondered how a robot remembers information while it is performing a task? How does it keep track of how many times it has moved? How does it temporarily store a sensor reading? How does it know which instruction to execute next? And how does it keep track of the results of its calculations? One important answer is registers. Today, we're going to learn what registers are, why robots need them, and the different types of registers commonly found in processors.
Welcome to my channel, Science with a Touch of Hugot. Let's explore! Discover short stories and discover ourselves.
What is a register? A register is a small and very fast storage location that temporarily holds information while a processor is working. Think of a register as a tiny workspace inside the processor. The processor can put information there, use it, change it, and replace it with new information. But there's something important to understand. When we say a register stores information, we don't mean that it stores information permanently, like the storage in your phone. A register is mainly a temporary working space. It holds information that the processor needs right now. Registers in electronics versus registers in robotics. You may have encountered the word register in electronics before. In a general electronics context, a register is a digital circuit that can hold a group of binary values, or bits. It can temporarily hold information or the state of a digital system. In computer architecture, which is very important in robotics, we commonly use the term register to refer to a small, very fast storage location inside or directly associated with a processor. These processor registers temporarily hold information that the processor needs while performing its operations. So the basic idea is similar. A register holds information, but in robotics and computer systems, we're usually talking about processor registers that provide very fast, temporary working space. But if registers are temporary, how does a device keep information? This is an important question. If registers are temporary, how can a robot, phone, or computer keep information? The answer is that electronic systems have different types of storage. Think of it like this. A register is a tiny workspace. RAM is a larger temporary workspace, and storage, such as flash memory, is where information can be kept for much longer. For example, when you take a picture using your phone, the information from the camera is processed by the processor. Registers may temporarily hold pieces of that information while the processor works with them. RAM may hold the information while the device is actively processing it. Then the finished photo can be written to the phone's flash storage. That's why you can turn off your phone and still see the photo when you turn it on again. So remember, registers help process information. Permanent or non-volatile storage keeps information for later use. A simple analogy. Imagine you're working at a desk. Your register is like the small space immediately in front of you. Your RAM is like the larger desk where you keep the materials you're currently using. And your storage is like a filing cabinet where you keep documents for later. You don't need to put everything on your tiny workspace. You only keep the information you need right now. Hugot. Parang buhay. Hindi lahat ng bagay kailangan mong dalhin forever. Some things need to stay with you temporarily because you still need to process them. But once their purpose is finished, you can let them go. Because sometimes, you don't need to keep everything. You just need to keep what you need for the next step. Why do robots need registers? Robots constantly receive and process information. They receive data from sensors. They perform calculations. They follow instructions. And they make decisions. All of these activities require the processor to work with information very quickly. That's why registers are important. They provide the processor with small, fast working spaces where it can temporarily hold the information it needs. Registers and counters. Let's start with a simple example. Imagine a robot is programmed to move forward 5 times. The robot needs to keep track of how many times it has already moved. A register can temporarily hold that count. Start with 0. The robot moves. The value becomes 1. The robot moves again. The value becomes 2, then 3, then 4, and finally 5. When the count reaches 5, the robot knows that it has completed the required number of movements. So registers can be used to temporarily store values that are being used. As counters in a program. Registers and sensors. Registers can also temporarily hold information coming from sensors. Imagine a distance sensor detects an object 25 centimeters away. That sensor reading can be temporarily stored in a register. The processor can then use that value to make a decision. For example, if the distance becomes less than 10 centimeters, stop! So the register helps the processor temporarily hold the information it needs while making a decision. Different types of registers. Now that we understand what a register is, let's look at some common types. Not all registers have the same job. Just like members of a robotics team have different responsibilities, different registers have different functions. Data register. The data register temporarily holds data that the processor is working with. For example, our robot sensor detects 25 centimeters. That value can be temporarily held in a data register. Think of it as a place where the processor temporarily keeps information that it is currently using. Hugot. Parang ikaw, may mga bagay na kailangan mong i-keep muna habang iniisip mo kung ano ang gagawin mo next. Hindi pa desisyon, data pa lang. Address register. The address register holds the location or address of data in memory. Think of it this way. If data is a package, the address register tells the processor where the package is located. Data is what you need. The address is where you can find it. The address register helps the processor locate the information it needs in memory. Instruction register, or IR. The instruction register temporarily holds the current instruction being processed. For example, the robot might receive the instruction, move forward. The instruction register holds that instruction while the processor decodes and executes it. Hugot. Parang kapag sinabi mong, move on. Kailangan mo munang i-process kung ano talaga ang ibig sabihin. Because before you can act, you have to process the instruction. Program counter, or PC. Now, this one can be confusing. The program counter is called a counter, but it is actually a special purpose register. Its main job is to store the address of the next instruction to be executed. Imagine a robot has these instructions. Number 1, move forward. Number 2, turn right. Number 3, move forward. Number 4, stop. The program counter keeps track of the address of the instruction that should be executed next. Although it is called a counter, it isn't simply counting how many times something happened. It is a register that helps the processor know where is the next instruction. Hugot. Parang buhay. Hindi mo kailangang malaman agad ang buong journey. Sometimes, you just need to know, what's my next step? Accumulator, or ACC. The accumulator temporarily holds intermediate results during calculations and processing. For example, 10 plus 5 equals 15. The processor can temporarily hold the result, 15, in the accumulator while it continues working. It can then use that result in another calculation. So the accumulator acts like a temporary calculation workspace. Status register. The status register holds information about the result or state of an operation. For example, it can contain flags that tell the processor whether an operation produced 0, whether a carry occurred, or whether certain conditions were met. It helps the processor answer what happened during the last operation. Hugot. Parang pagkatapos ng isang experiment? Okay, ano ang resulta? The status register helps the processor determine what happened. Putting everything together. Imagine a robot detects an obstacle. The sensor detects the object. The sensor reading can be temporarily held in the data register. If the processor needs information stored in memory, the address register helps locate that information. The instruction register holds the current instruction being processed. The program counter stores the address of the next instruction. The accumulator can hold intermediate calculation results, and the status register keeps information about the result or condition of an operation. All of these registers work together to help the processor handle information quickly. Simple summary. Data register temporarily holds data. Address register holds the location of data in memory. Instruction register holds the current instruction being processed. Program counter is a special purpose register that stores the address of the next instruction to be executed. Accumulator holds intermediate calculation results. Status register holds information about the result or state of an operation. A register is not the same as permanent storage. Registers are extremely fast, but they have very small capacity and are mainly used for temporary processing. Permanent or non-volatile storage, such as flash memory, is designed to keep information even when the power is turned off. So, register. Small, very fast, temporary working space. RAM, larger temporary working memory. Storage, keeps information for longer-term use. Quick review. What is a register? A register is a small, very fast storage location that temporarily holds information while the processor is working. Which register temporarily holds data? The data register. Which register holds the location of data in memory? The address register. Which register holds the current instruction? The instruction register. Which register stores the address of the next instruction? The program counter. Remember, the program counter is a special purpose register, even though it is called a counter. Which register holds intermediate calculation results? The accumulator. And which register holds information about the result or state of an operation? The status register. A robot may look simple from the outside. It senses, it processes, it decides, and it moves. But inside the processor, countless pieces of information are being handled extremely quickly. Registers provide the processor with tiny, fast working spaces for that information. The data register holds the data. The address register knows where to find information. The instruction register holds what needs to be done. The program counter tells the processor where the next instruction is. The accumulator holds calculation results. And the status register tells the processor what happened. And maybe there's a lesson here for us. Sometimes we think we have to carry everything with us. Every mistake, every disappointment, every problem, every piece of information from the past. But just like a register, we don't need to hold everything forever. Some information is needed only for the current task. Some experiences are meant to teach us something, and some things have already served their purpose. You don't need to carry everything. Keep what you need for the next step. Process what happened. Learn from the result. Know where you're going next. And then keep moving forward. Because sometimes, just like the program counter, you don't need to know the entire journey. You only need to know the address of your next step. And that's how you keep moving.
Thank you for learning with me today. Remember, biggest classroom. Don't forget to subscribe for more lessons. Keep finding the Hugot in every day. See you in the next lesson.